Is Stephen A. Smith a racist or is he just an idiot? I'm the DA.
And I'm James the Greek.
And this is Man Cave Sports. What's going on, James?
What's up, buddy? How are you? I like this. I'm doing less of the major lifting. You're hosting. You've graduated. I'm excited.
I'm nervous. So everybody out there, James obviously always hosts the show. We ran the podcast for years. James hosted the podcast. We do everything. James hosts everything because he's great at it. But he wants to take the training wheels off and give me a chance. So here I am hosting my first show.
And you'll be just fine. I'm not worried about it in the least.
Thank you. Now for our first topic, what we're talking about, obviously Stephen A. Smith and Jonathan Papelbon have gotten into a full-blown, I don't even want to call it a Twitter war, X war, a podcast war, TV war, everything war. And it all revolves around Mike Trout of all things. So it all starts out with Stephen A. Smith going on his show First Take and throwing out some comments about baseball players and Mike Trout and basically calling them out for being soft.
It's driving me crazy. And let me tell you this. Mike Trout is a sensational player when he's healthy. One of the greatest. He really, really is. And I'm a huge, huge fan. But I've grown disgusted with his lack of availability. It makes me question. I know he looks the part. What the hell are you doing to take care of yourself? Always injured. I mean, damn, it's baseball. I mean, what are you talking about here? Damn, it's not football. It's not boxing. It's not the UFC. You're not running up and down the court 94 feet basketball for 82 nights a year. It's baseball. Half the time y'all out standing out in the outfield, you know, chewing on pumpkin seeds or something, waiting for a fly ball to come your way. How the hell is he always hurt?
And Jonathan Papelbon wanted nothing to do with this, and he came right back on him on his show Foul Territory and attacked Stephen A. Smith, calling him a racist, a xenophobe, and just a fake.
I challenge ESPN to do something about it. I challenge ESPN to either fire him or cut his pay or do something about it, because honestly nobody wants to listen to his shit, because everybody knows that it's just for likes, it's just for followers. He really doesn't actually know what he's saying. So I don't really take it as anything, to be honest with you. I just take it that this is just another idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about.
James, let's start right here. Is Papelbon right for coming after Stephen A. Smith?
This is why I decided that this would be the perfect week for you to host, because you know about all this stuff. Should a baseball player get injured? So before we talk about the Papelbon stuff, tell me, what are your thoughts immediately on Stephen A. Smith's comments?
It pisses me off. It frustrates the living hell out of me. This is one of those things where baseball players get these soft-ass comments, or where we are the soft ones. We're the soft sport. We're the ones that you, oh my God, you got hurt. Oh, your finger hurts. You can't play. The problem with baseball, and this is where other sports don't have, like some of these other sports, like the NBA, NFL, hockey, boxing, some of these other sports, we are such the finite difference between the best and the player below them is a tiny little injury, a tiny little hangnail while you're a pitcher, an oblique strain as a hitter. Yeah, good luck doing anything with an oblique strain. A knee issue, just so those little differences. The sport is on such a high level on skill. Those tiny little differences are the difference between winning a baseball game and losing a baseball game. And it's not a sport that you can just brute your way through. It's not a sport that you can hide injuries. It is not a sport that the tiniest of thing doesn't matter. It absolutely matters in this game. Baseball is a game of attrition. Man, this is a game of 162 games in 182 days, or whatever it is now. Once they change it, maybe 184 days. Incredibly hard schedule, and it's so tough to play every single day. The game on the daily is not as hard as a football or as a basketball game or a boxing match. Hell no. The one day is not as hard. But they cannot do it day after day, and day after day, and day after day. Oh, by the way, traveling for 2 weeks, and then day after day. Like, it's the constant is what kills you in baseball, and you cannot prepare for it, and it's not like any other sport.
Agreed. You look at it, you mentioned the difference between being great and being below average. Take a look at the number one prospect in baseball right now, Jackson Holliday. He didn't have an injury, but you can tell the difference between being 100% the man and being that new kid or that injured guy. He got sent right back down to the minor leagues. Now, I'm talking apples and oranges, but the difference is, you mentioned it. It is very difficult to be at your top because it takes a tenth of a second to make that decision to hit the ball. It takes everything that you have to throw the ball. And that's what guys like Stephen A. Smith don't understand. So you asked me a question earlier. Is Jonathan Papelbon right? Or is Stephen A. Smith right? There is no doubt in my mind that Papelbon is right because he understands what it is to play 162 games, and Stephen A. Smith only plays with himself.
Only plays with himself, without a doubt. Now, Stephen A. Smith does not understand the daily grind that it takes from baseball, and that's what athletes do understand, and that's why these guys that have crossed over sports struggle with baseball and call baseball the hardest sport. It's not because hitting a baseball is so hard. It is. But it's not because of that. It's not because throwing a strike is so hard or playing 9 innings of 3-hour game baseball where you only got 10 minutes of activity is that hard. It's doing it every day and keeping your mind positive in a game that's built on negative. The entire game is built to slap you in the face and tell you how bad you are, and you have to keep rising. That's what they don't understand. But the real question here is Stephen A. Smith a racist? Right? Is he a xenophobe? Is there something there that is bigger than him just calling out baseball players?
Do I believe that Stephen A. Smith is a racist? No, I don't. I think he is the type of guy who brings up racial inequalities or racial questions every single time he has the ability to do so on his show. Absolutely. Because I think it gets clicks. However, I know a lot of African American ball players, just like you do. And it comes up quite a bit. Race is an issue with the sports world, but I don't think anybody's outright racist. I'll tell you, I had a conversation a few weeks ago with a former player, and we were talking about Major League Baseball and how they can change the game. And I said, what do you think the biggest problem with baseball is? And he said, there's a whole bunch of old white dudes running it. Now, that person we know is not racist, but he's talking about the fact that these guys aren't in touch with today's players from different cultures. Do I think that is a racist comment? No, I don't.
I don't think Stephen A. Smith is racist. Or let me put it this way. With this comment doesn't make him racist. I think what it makes him is a absolute idiot douchebag who has no understanding of baseball. And I think I don't know if he necessarily meant this to get clicks, but I think it's such a normal thing to him to just spew out trash that it's so normal for him to say that he doesn't even know the difference. He's not a racist. And I think Papelbon is wrong in calling him that. I think that's where you can pick up a whole lot of other words to call him and not racist. I think an idiot, a douche canoe. I think that's a great one. I actually like that one a lot. Or just not in touch with the game itself. And maybe instead of calling him out as a racist and all this stuff, let's bring him into the world and actually make him understand how hard it is. You know what I would love, how about this, James? If a player said, Stephen A., come travel with us for 2 weeks. Come put on the cleats for 2 weeks with us, for 3 weeks, for a month. You can do your show out of the locker room. You can handle it. I'd love it. The Phillies, now that Papelbon called out him with the Phillies and accusing him of being locked out of the locker room or kicked out of the locker room, they should say, put on some cleats and be a Philly for a month and see how hard that is.
You can't do that because then what ends up happening is he's getting all the free publicity and you're making him bigger than the game if you do that. He's not going to sit there and say, I was wrong. He's going to bask in the glory. And I do want to stop you right there when you called him a douche canoe. I don't know him from a hole in the wall. I've never met him. If you're watching Stephen A. Smith, I respect you. I haven't been able to do what you do in your business. And we're in the same business, or at least I was in the same business. You are a journalist. You have worked hard. It's been documented. And for you to be as successful as you are, you have to work hard. But you need to understand all the sports before you start criticizing guys getting hurt. especially a guy who is not only a generational talent, but a guy who could be a top 50 player of all time, even with all these injuries.
Absolutely. It's so tough to see Mike Trout's career struggle so much when he was probably the best player of all time I had ever seen for a certain amount of years outside of Barry Bonds. But what we really want to know is what you think. So make sure you leave a comment on whether you're on Stephen A. Smith's side, Papelbon's side, maybe in the middle. Let us know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button. More likes equals more great content for you. And if you haven't, subscribe now.